Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Please like and subscribe. Leave that donation for that fried rice and chicken wings. Become a member to the channel. Keith one-time Thurman. He will beat Sebastian Fundora. Just if you ask me, I just think, look at Keith Thurman, he just brings too much to the table as a veteran. I know he's been a bit inactive. Fundora's been more active, but I just think we got to really understand there's a clear path to victory here for Keith one-time Thurman. And I get it. When you look at this fight and you look at it on paper, it looks like a clash of styles, you know what I'm saying? Although Keith Thurman has been inactive, taking care of family, he had his priorities in the right place, but he's back. And you can see that, you know, he's still, although he's much shorter than Sebastian Fundora, he's an explosive veteran, man, and he still has it. Then with a guy like Fundora, he's this big, awkward, tall giraffe, you know what I'm saying? But the bottom line is when you think about Keith Thurman and you think about Fundora, this could be why Keith Thurman beats him. Because no doubt about that, man, Fundora is a young lion. But that's the problem. The young lion is battling an old lion, and that experience could be the difference. You know, this is exactly why I think Keith Thurman has a real chance to pull off a statement win. And some people are saying, nah, there's no way in the world, hold your horses, quit taking it to the stupid. Okay, I understand. Y'all are counting him out. You're counting out Keith Thurman. But Keith Thurman, right? I'm picking him to win. I mean, hey, I don't know anything, do I? I mean, I only picked Crawford to beat Canelo. So y'all can think what you want, but just like Crawford, they counted him out against Canelo. What did Crawford do? He don't do nothing but make him even more dangerous, and Keith Thurman has that quality. Them guys from that era, where they were all fighting and the amateurs around the same time, they got a different quality, man. You got to put some respect on all their names, you know what I'm saying? And Keith Thurman has that same quality. You sit there and start doubting him and counting him out, that just motivates him even more to get in there and prove people wrong. Crawford said about Canelo, people doubt me, they're going to be crying Saturday. And people doubting Keith Thurman, I think they're going to be crying when he and Sebastian Fundora get in the ring. We understand Fundora and his size, but look, Keith Thurman's been there with dangerous legends, man, and he's battled through injuries, got into fights and still did the business. Every time the spotlight hits Keith Thurman, man, you could tell Keith Thurman is a guy. He likes that. You know, not everybody wants to be the center of attention. Not everybody wants to be center stage. But with Keith Thurman, man, spotlight hits him, it's almost like it reminds him of why they call him one time. Like, he can't wait to get there and show the boxing world his power, his skill set. And I really think that's going to be the difference when he and Sebastian Fundora scrap. Now, when you try to break down the styles, it becomes real clear why Keith Thurman has the advantage. Now, Fundora out here standing, what is he, 6'12"? Some crazy shit? 80-plus inch reach? But the crazy thing is, right, he fights like Isaac Pitbull Cruz. I just got to be real about this. If Fundora fought like Ike Quartet, stayed behind the jab, Fundora could win every single fight, decision. He may even win everyone by knockout. He just softened his guys up with the jab, then eventually working his power shots. But that's not him. Fundora doesn't fight like a tall man. Instead of staying on the outside and popping that long jab, he wants to get into the trenches and trade shots. Like he's 5'1", all compartmentalized and shit. And you come in there fighting small when you shouldn't against Keith Thurman, that ain't nothing but a gift to one time. And he gonna tell you, after he knocks you out, he'll tell you, thank you. You gotta understand, people saying, nah, man, Hood Champion, you know, you just sound like a Keith Thurman fanboy. All right, well, let me explain why I think this is all bad for Fundora to fight small and try to get into a slugfest with Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman, now he has slowed down a little bit, got to be real, but he's still a master at timing, darting in between punches, cracking opponents who overcommit. We saw what happened in the last fight, with the Brock Jarvis kid. Of course, he's not Fundora. Fundora has been out here doing the business, getting better, but Fundora, he doesn't have the experience of the veteran Keith Thurman. But you saw when Keith Thurman fought Brock Jarvis, he was in the ring thinking, making adjustments, and just trying to find a way to win. And once he figured things out, it was all she wrote. You know what I'm saying? He did exactly what I said. He cracked the guy Jarvis, put him out of his misery, and I, for one, with the kind of power Keith Thurman has, I know for a fact he's going to touch Fundora. And when he does, Fundora ain't going to be able to stand up to it. You know what I'm saying? You saw it against Danny Garcia and Sean Porter. And you saw it against Manny Pacquiao. The bottom line is when Keith Thurman uses his ability to step in and land, he exits before his opponents can react. And although he slowed down, I think he's still going to be able to do it because Sebastian Fundora, he sure as hell ain't the fastest boxer at 154. And I think that's the blueprint on beating Fundora is lateral movement, darting in and out, and doing the business. So you got to understand that footwork is another piece. You look at Fundora. Fundora don't have no damn footwork. None at all. He's clumsy. He's out there falling all over, tripping all over himself. That footwork is a key piece. Keith Thurman isn't the same marathon runner we saw early in his career, that move around and shit. But he's still got that lateral movement. Probably the best lateral movement in boxing right now. Even though it's Keith Thurman who's much older. You know what I'm saying? He can pivot. He can circle. He can change directions in a split second. And I just think when he's doing that, he's going to be turning and keeping Fundora off balance and have Fundora, who just look like a big-ass giraffe, he's just going to start having fits. You know what I'm saying? He's going to get frustrated. And he's going to start reaching and getting anxious, and Keith Thurman is going to time him. And Keith Thurman's going to knock him out, man. You got to understand this shit about Sebastian Fundora, the Mexican style, and fighting so small. For a guy who wants to fight small, he sure as hell doesn't know how to cut the ring off. Fundora is just a big man who moves in straight lines. That's it. And high volume of punches. He doesn't cut the ring off. It's not even that he doesn't cut it off well. He just doesn't cut it off. And he squares up. And the thing is this, when he squares up, he becomes a massive target. And that's all bad when you're facing a guy like Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman just has to close his eyes and punch. He's going to land on Fundora. Could you imagine Fundora? Just understand this. Imagine Keith Thurman and Fundora in the center of the ring. Fundora throwing a jab, which he doesn't have the fastest hands. Throws a jab. Keith Thurman stepping around the jab. Then Keith Thurman firing that left hook to the body, then exploding upstairs like he does. That's the kind of sequence that can break down a tall fighter, especially a volume-based fighter like Fundora. But that's the kind of sequence that's going to knock Fundora out cold. I do think Keith Thurman is going to knock him out. You just got to understand that Fundora doesn't have the best chin. Matter of fact, when he just fought Tim Tszyu in that second fight, he was hurting Tim Tszyu. But Tim Tszyu was having so much success before they stopped the fight. I think if it would have gone another round, I think Tim Tszyu would have got him. But, Tim Tszyu was getting hurt pretty bad. And for those thinking that Keith Thurman is just going to be another Tim Tszyu, y'all crazy. Keith Thurman ain't Tim Tszyu. Keith Thurman got too much intelligence. It's just like you watching Crawford and Canelo. Terrence Crawford knew early in the fight there was no way in the world he could stand there and have exchanges with Canelo. So when you get guys like Crawford and Thurman, again, you go back where they were in the amateurs together, right? They have intelligence. They got IQ. They know it's not a one round fight, a three round fight. They have 12 rounds. These guys have patience. Fundora does not have patience at all. And then forget talking about him not having patience. One thing he has is he has a very long upper torso. And all of that body and shit, 6'12". When you have a frame like that, that leaves acres and acres and acres of real estate for a guy like Keith Thurman to explore with different types of body shots. May go for the solar plex, go for the liver, may go for the ribs. Keith Thurman has a sneaky left hook, and I'm telling you, he can land anywhere he wants, in particular target that liver. He used it brilliantly against Luis Collazo years ago, and I think if he digs that punch early and often, Fundora's going to be forced to bend over, drop those hands, and slow down his output, and then Fundora's going to be a sitting duck. You know, Fundora can't circle around the ring. He has no footwork. He can't do it. He's the man 6'12", man. You know what I'm saying? It's damn near impossible for him to move the way he wants. The way these younger guys do. He wants to be small. He wants to move with fast feet. He can't do it. I believe Fundora will trip over his own feet. Matter of fact, when he and Keith Thurman fight, I think Keith Thurman will make Fundora trip and fall by turning him, by pivoting, by using angles. He will never allow Fundora to set his feet. And that's going to be all bad. And we've seen this story before. You know what it's making me think about? It's making me think about the tall volume puncher like Paul Williams. Y'all remember Paul Williams? He's in the wheelchair now. He was another one of them Sebastian Fundoras, like 6'2", 6'2" or 6'3", fighting. He could fight 147 or 154. Crazy. Think he had an 81-inch reach. You know what I mean? But eventually, man, you know, he got broken down. Midsection getting attacked. Fighting small, not being on the outside with his jab, and got clipped. So I could definitely see, what's the guy's name? Sergio Martinez, Paul Williams type scenario play out with Keith Thurman and Sebastian Fundora. And Thurman knows that. He understands the importance of the body attack. And he'll invest in it from round one. Matter of fact, that may be all he focuses on early, is chopping him down and then looking to land a kill shot. But one thing I'll say, Fundora he's mentally tough. But I don't know if his mental toughness shines brighter than Keith Thurman's. You know, I don't know about that. Fundora is young, he's tough, aggressive, a whole lot stupid in the ring because he doesn't make the fight simple. He wants to entertain, and that's going to be his downfall. But we got to understand, he hasn't been in with the elite. Tim Tszyu looked like he was going to be something special, but we all saw what happened to Tim Tszyu, and one of my favorite fighters, but hey, he got the bing bings put on him. But one thing about Thurman, although he's been inactive, he's been in with elite fighters. He fought Pacquiao under the brightest light, so he's been on the big stage several times. He's unified titles, been pushed in deep waters by Porter, survived firefights with Danny Garcia. And when you have that kind of experience, and someone else does it, you have the upper hand, because that you can't teach that. When a fight gets wild, like Fundora may want this shit to get wild because he may feel he'll have the upper hand and be looking to throw those uppercuts, you know what I'm saying? But don't expect Keith Thurman, if the fight does get wild, don't expect him, when the crowd starts roaring, don't expect him to get caught up in that. He's going to sit back and say, okay, you want to get wild, Fundora, go ahead. You want to get caught up with the crowd, roars, and you throwing all these unnecessary punches, you're not hitting nothing, cool, go ahead and do it. And allow that fatigue to set in. And so while Fundora's out here doing all this additional bull crap that's not needed, Keith Thurman is just staying composed and sitting back like, I'm going to get your ass. You go ahead and get tired. Because Keith Thurman knows when to explode, when to steal around, when to take a breather. That composure is going to be the difference with making Fundora when making Fundora pay for trying to overwhelm him. I can't wait for this fight to happen. I think Keith Thurman will knock him out. But I know some of y'all don't want to hear me say that shit. There you go, hood champion, man. You tail wagger. You don't know what you're talking about. All right, whatever. Y'all are gonna say Keith Thurman's back past his prime. Look, he don't even have a ponytail no more. His hairline receding from front to back. He looked crazy. That thumbnail you created, man, that ain't no damn Keith Thurman. That's Nico Ali Walsh. That thumbnail is crazy and shit, but you guys get the idea. But Keith Thurman is past his prime. People will point to the injuries. They'll point to the layoff. They'll point to the loss to Pacquiao. But let's be all the way real, okay? All the way real. Arrested, hungry, injury-free Keith Thurman is a nightmare. He is the Ike Abeabuchi. Nightmare. Y'all think Keith Thurman ain't motivated after clipping that young Brock Jarvis in Australia, knowing he got an opportunity to fight Fundora now? You think he's not motivated to prove the doubters wrong? He got a chip on his shoulder, and when he has a chip on his shoulder, that's always fueled his best performances, and I think we're going to see something great when he faces a guy like Sebastian Fundora. Meanwhile, Fundora has already shown cracks. Look at his loss to Brian Mendoza. Look at how many clean shots he was getting hit with by Tim Tszyu. So I'm just telling you, if a guy like Mendoza and Tim Tszyu, with their timing and power, or with the little timing but decent power that Tim Tszyu had, if those guys can find openings on Sebastian Fundora, man, what do you think Keith Thurman's going to do? Got more speed, more experience, probably just as much, if not more pop. Keith Thurman will get the job done, man. And history tells us how these fights will go. You know what I'm saying? Like, this shit ain't rocket science. You got shorter, explosive fighters that beating taller men for generations. It ain't nothing. It's nothing new. Mike Tyson wrecked heavyweights, demolished heavyweights who towered over him. Manny Pacquiao sliced up a guy like Margarito and every other fighter who looked like giants in the ring. Roberto Duran, what he bubbled up? 5-weight division? Roberto Duran like 5'5" or something. 5'5". Out here beating all these guys' asses with his durability, with his power, with his skill set. Outclassing everyone, especially, I don't know if y'all seen that fight between Roberto Duran and Iran Barkley. Big size difference. Still went out there, man, and put the bing-bings on him. So, if you look at these legends that we're talking about and how they were able to chop down those trees in the ring, you got to say, okay, well, what do they have in common? They had timing. Keith one-time Thurman has timing. They had footwork. Keith one-time Thurman has footwork. And they have power. Keith one-time Thurman had power, but more importantly, they were able to take away a big man's strengths. And Keith Thurman fits right into that lineage. So put some respect on his name. He's not intimidated by anyone. He's not intimidated by Fundora. He's not worried about Fundora's height. He's actually out here licking them Clearwater, Florida chops at the idea of cracking off 6'12" Sebastian Fundora, who, again, stupidly likes to fight small. But you know what, man? We can't overlook the emotional. There's an emotional side to all this. You know what I'm saying? I think Keith Thurman knows he let a lot of his good years go. But his priorities were in the right place, man. He got married, wife from another country, had to bring her over here, get her settled in. Family wanted a child immediately. That's a cultural thing, man. Keith Thurman was like, nah, not yet. They finally got to a point where they were comfortable, have a couple of kids now. You know, there's an emotional side to Keith Thurman's story. His career's been a roller coaster, man, you know. Shit, he was the king at one point. Then he went and became the underdog and became inactive, and everybody criticized him. He gets disrespected sometimes when he walks through arenas. I personally think they do it because he's not an obnoxious guy. I think they do it because he's a biracial cat, and he plays a big weird flute. And I just think they look at him and they think he's quirky. But Keith Thurman ain't no goddamn joke. You know, Oscar De La Hoya is another one of them weird ones, you know, quirky ones, unique personality types. Run up on De La Hoya, see what the fuck happens. Run up on Keith Thurman, see what happens. But the bottom line is he's been through it all. He's never lost that hunger to prove himself, man. And I just think the fight with Fundora is more about just a win. I really do. I think it's all about redemption. I think he's like, you know, this is my time. One time is my time as one time. And I'm going to show up on time and put the bing bings on Sebastian Fundora. Keith Thurman is like, yo, I'm still here. Still dangerous. Y'all can underestimate me. It's cool. I kind of understand. But I'm going to tell you, Keith Thurman is still capable of erasing a man's confidence with one shot. And they could come from either hand. And that you just can't teach that. Could you imagine the statement Keith Thurman would make if he stops Fundora? That narrative is going to flip overnight. They're going to be like, you know, Keith Thurman from washed up to back in the picture or something like that. You know what I mean? So, bottom line, when you talk about Keith Thurman facing Sebastian Fundora, how does Thurman beat Fundora? It's simple. Pretty damn simple, man. Move your feet, circle away from Fundora's left hand because he's southpaw. Invest in the body early. Time those reckless flurries coming from Fundora and stay disciplined. I'm telling you, Fundora's volume won't matter if he's eating clean counters, which he's going to eat a lot of clean counters. And he's going to get drained to the ribs. So it's Keith Thurman's fight to win, man. And when the fight hits the championship rounds, we all know what's going to happen then. Keith Thurman's going to shine. That experience is going to shine. While Fundora's inexperience will start to show. And this is the blueprint, man. You know, this is the blueprint on how Keith Thurman is going to clip Sebastian Fundora. This is the story. Bottom line, I got Keith Thurman putting the bing bings on Fundora. Some people going to doubt him. But I'm going to tell you, don't doubt him. Don't doubt Keith Thurman. One time, he should not, instead of calling himself Keith one time, he should call himself Keith Bing Bing for this fight. Because that's what he's going to do to Sebastian Fundora, get him up out of there. Anyway, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. Become a member to the channel. I'm about to go run with the weighted vest on. I don't know if I'm going to go live, though. But I'm going to go run. Got to run some errands. Drop a couple more videos later. Y'all keep cool. Got a video on Sebastian Fundora coming. Talk my house. Fundora going to kick Thurman's ass. You know, I'm on my shit now. And I got some more Canelo Crawford, but I'm going to get these other series going. And also Devin Haney and Brian Norman Jr. And I think there was another one. Wardley and Parker. I can't remember. There's another. Anyway, but I got more coming. Appreciate the support. Keep cool. I'm in the breeze.